Good morning and welcome to the webinar. We're here with Cathal Moran and Melanie Gipp, and they are going to take us through the essentials of account-based marketing. So over to you, Melanie.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Jane, for the introduction. I'm Melanie Gipp, and I'm a field marketing manager here at Marketo. And in Europe, I run the ABM programs and work with our target accounts in the different regions. So I have a great agenda that I would like to walk through with you this morning. We'll talk about some of the ABM essentials and what is an overview there. I would like to talk to you about identifying your target accounts, how to create and run campaigns, and I'll show you some of the campaigns that we run for our ABM here in Europe at Marketo. Then we're going to talk about some measurements. Important also is sales collaboration, and then Carl will show you the Marketo solution and how we actually do this. So before I dive in, I want to start by setting the stage a little and talk about these three elements that comprise the ABM essentials as we see them. And these are really critical for doing ABM account-based marketing. And the first one here is to manage. So these are the initial steps to start the account selection for your target accounts. And it is critical for your ABM that your marketing activities are in really close collaboration with your sales team. And you need to identify accounts that really matter the most to you and your sales team. And I will discuss this in a lot more detail here in a little bit. Number two is the ability to engage and target the individuals within these accounts that you've identified. And you want to do this in a really personalized manner and at a time that matters to the people that you're targeting. Really important here is that this needs to be scalable because probably very few of us have teams of 40 people that can run millions of campaigns, right? So you want to have a scalable framework for this. And lastly, the ability to measure is really, really important. And that's something that we talk about at Marketo a lot. So you want to have account-based views, you want to have dashboards and reports to understand how your campaigns impact the accounts that you're targeting and the pipeline that you're generating with them. So let's get started. And I'll walk through these 5 things in a really deep dive, but I wanted to give you an overview here. So first is account identification. And this is obvious, and we'll talk about a lot more on the next slide about this and how to really get buy-in from sales, which is really important. The second one is account profiling. So you want to understand the accounts that you're targeting. Which divisions are you looking at? How are they built out? How do the teams within those accounts work? And then you want to have the right data for your systems to also work properly, right? Step 3 is creating content and right messaging. It would be a shame if you go through all the work of identifying accounts, profiling them, but then you don't really have the ability to message them properly and address them in the right way. 4th is launching cross-channel campaigns. And cross-channel is important because if you think about it, our buyers today are really not active on just one channel. They want to have personal content across all the different channels, whether it's at an event, over social and email, or direct mail. that is important. And lastly, here is our lovely measurement category again. And that is something that I will discuss in detail, and Cathal will actually show you this in the solution as well. So let's kick this off by how do I go ahead and identify my accounts. And this one might be really obvious to you, but for the completeness of this presentation, I would like to walk through this. So the first one is the ability to identify characteristics of an account that will be your top money makers. The second one is the fit of your product. Does the business need match your product or your solution or your offering? You don't want to acquire customers that might spend a lot of money with you in the beginning, but then don't really have a really good fit for your product, and then they start getting unhappy and really expensive in supporting them, and then they might churn. And we all know that acquiring a new customer is a lot more expensive than keeping existing customers happy. Number three is that you might also want to take a look at who's using your competitor solution, right? These people are already educated about the industry, about the concepts, so they might have a reason to switch. And then lastly, but probably one of your more important categories are truly strategic accounts, and those are influential logos that every industry has, and they might not be the most profitable and they might not be the best fit for you, but acquiring these accounts might catapult your business into a new direction. So how do you now go and identify those accounts? Because in theory it sounds really easy, right? But it is a bit tricky sometimes. And here are some tips and tricks and solutions that we can give you to hand. And the first one here is to help identify the right accounts you want to look at your account data. And you probably work with one or some or more of these tools already, but account data tools will give you firmographic information and business intelligence like employee size, or they will give you all companies within an industry, within a region. You might want to find out what companies are hiring a particular skill set. So those data tools can be really helpful. The next section on the slide is all around account scoring. And this is a really exciting topic to me because there are also a number of tools out there that can help you pay attention to this. When setting up your account score, you want to work with predictive account scoring that will help you leverage your historic data that you already have from your existing customers, and it will look at characteristics that they have and create a statistical model to identify other accounts that really are similar to those organizations and then are hopefully more likely to buy. And then on the right-hand side here of the slide, you see some niche solutions, some business intelligence tools that might help you gain really good insights into accounts. And we at Marketo are a big user of Data Knives. And they help us identify which specific software or technologies are used by companies. And based on that intelligence, we can then score our accounts and drive our campaign. So this is an example of Marketo. We look at, what CRM system is someone using? Do they have marketing automation solutions? How digitally savvy are they? And that really helps us target the right accounts. Lastly, but not on this slide, is Marketo is a really good solution that can give you insight into web behavior, engagement, downloads, and so on. And so that will also give you additional viewpoints on how to select your target accounts. And then, of course, also engage with your buyers in a meaningful way. Here you're looking at a slide of what our internal enterprise account scoring model looks like. And as I mentioned before, we look at historical data. So we analyze which types of accounts are good accounts for us based on a win rate, on a deal size, closing time, and so on. The second category is then the firmographic data, and that's what we get from the BI tools on the previous slide. And especially in the enterprise space, we look at information like what's their annual revenue, what's their employee size, different geographies, so firmographic information. And then lastly is really the big chunk of information that we're gathering within our systems, and that's where we're listening to more than 4,000 different signals that help us determine an account score and help us in the selection process. So those can be things like social media activity, which tells us how digitally savvy an organization is, or maybe it tells us information about their funding. So you might have nodded this entire time and agreed, but now you're asking, well, how do I go ahead and select those accounts? And the situation is easy, but it really isn't, right? So here I'm showing you an example how we do it for our enterprise segment at Marketo. So we have top 20 accounts, we have tier 1 and tier 2 accounts. So we work closely with the sales reps. They know their territory, right? So they will create lists. Then I, in marketing, will overlay this with our predictive account scoring, and I will then help the sales reps fine-tune those lists and make sure that the organizations are a right fit based on all of our criteria. Now, a very important thing is that we then go ahead and lock those lists for 6 months, because target account marketing takes time and account-based marketing really takes time, right? So you cannot select a target account today where you don't have a foot in the door and then expect results overnight. So therefore, don't switch accounts out too quickly if you don't see the reason for it quite yet. So that was how to select target accounts. Now, how do you profile those accounts and match them correctly? And this is really important because you need to understand how your target accounts are truly structured, right? And here I'm showing just an example of a plan that you can build. So you can look at financial health, you can look at business initiatives, personnel development, org structures. There are really a lot of different ways to do that. And here is a nice example of how we do this internally. We use solutions like IKO ranking in this example here. And they help us build out the white space. And that is really important because selecting the target accounts is great, right? If I don't have people within those accounts to target, it's a little bit difficult for me as a marketer. So you want to understand who are the key individuals within those accounts, who are influencers, decision makers, who has a crucial role in purchasing, or even who are the blockers, because those are really important as well. And you can start this process with your existing database. You can also work with SDRs and your sales team. You can choose to outsource that type of work to third parties. There are really a number of different ways to do that. But the sad truth is This is never done. You need to work on this continuously all the time. Now, I want to touch on the area of creating compelling content. And this might seem really overwhelming, but it can be easy if you look at a good structure. And in all of our target accounts, we have buyers, and you need to know who those people are and what their need is to know what you want to present to them. So you can see at an early stage, we want to build awareness within an account. They might not know you at all yet, so the goal is building awareness, addressing their pain points, and ideally doing that without talking about your product or solution at all. So help them with the problem. And these people like to read blogs, they download ebooks, they enjoy firmographics, webinars, videos, light and engaging content. In the middle stage, your buyer is starting to look for a solution. Therefore, you want to support him with buyer guides, RFP templates, ROI calculators, anything that really helps them within the evaluation process. And then you come to the late stage, where you're confident that they are really looking into your solution, and you want to provide them with content that helps them make a decision in your favor. And those are often then demos, analysts, information, customer case studies, that type of information. And as you see below on this slide, you might want to do this for different personas, because the end user has an interest in different information than someone that's just an influencer. You also might want to think about blockers that could risk your engagement. And in our case, we sometimes, we sell software, right? So we sometimes run into IT departments, and you want to have, or we at Marketo then want to have content that speaks to the IT department, opposed to just talking to the marketer. And here's an example of how Marketo does this within our education vertical, and I wanted to share this with you. You can see the different content that we display in the different stages of the buyer's journey. So maybe for awareness, we want to show them our Frost and Sullivan white paper. You might want to think about a cool webinar, a video series, or a webinar, anything that helps educate the buyer about the industry and the general topic of your product. One thing that's really important to remember here is these plans are not necessarily static, so you want to test this out all the time as well. And, content and the topic of content marketing can be a bit overwhelming, and handling this in 2 slides here is probably not doing it justice. But we have a lot of different content about content marketing on our website, marketo.com. Under the Resource Center, you'll find some really great information if you want to dive in deeper there. Now, we want to talk about how you then develop targeted and truly personalized campaigns. And the first point I would like to make here is that you should definitely think about this as a multi-channel strategy, right? As I mentioned before, buyers are everywhere today. It's not enough to just say, okay, for these target accounts, I'm going to just do an event, or I'm just going to do this one email campaign. No, they're on LinkedIn, they're on a blog, so you want to make sure that you have everything coordinated with the same messaging. And don't forget about your sales team. They need to have the same messaging as all of your marketing campaigns as well. So here's an example of what a flow might look like for different audiences. And if someone asks you for your ABM strategy, then you might want to say, look, for decision makers, I'm working on driving awareness through LinkedIn, I'm doing Facebook targeting and website personalization. Our goal is to engage them into a field event, and then I'm going to have an email program and a follow-up on calls or in-person meetings. And now this slide is a really, really interesting one to me in my daily work, but I think also for the purpose of this webinar, because not all target accounts are the same, right? As I showed you before, we're working on top 20 accounts. We have our tier 1 and our tier 2 accounts, and it is really important that these accounts are treated differently, because otherwise it would not be account-based marketing, right? So our top 20 accounts will get the whole shebang. They get web personalization, in-person programs. We do targeted account webinars for them, just everything. But because of scale and efficiencies, it needs to scale down on the tier 1 and tier 2 accounts. You always want to test out different things with different accounts. And you also want to share this with your sales team so that they are aware of what's happening. Also really interesting is this map, I find, and it helps us internally often think about things, and I hope it's valuable for you as well. But this is how we look at the marketing funnel and how the different programs and tactics really fit into the funnel, so that what you're doing is driving the awareness that then gets people engaged, and that then leads to hopefully on-site meetings or deeper conversation. Now, I'll show you some actual campaigns that we've done here at Marketo, and these map to the different stages in the funnel, right? So going back to the funnel here, I have my ABM, my top of the funnel, early stage, middle of the funnel is mid-stage, and then bottom of the funnel, right? So early stage campaigns are top of the funnel, and here is an example of what we do. You might want to target huge companies like an Amazon or a Google, and they have no idea who you are. So you want to start driving awareness to those companies and build trust and show them that you truly understand them and understand what they're looking for. So web personalization is a really nice way of showing that you understand their business. So many programs that we do in marketing drive people to our website anyways, right? But when people arrive to the website, only 2% of our visitors really convert. If you're showing personalized content, marketers can see up to a 20% conversion on those websites, which is huge, right? So really important to think about that. And if you think about it, you're not sending the same email to an entire database. So why are you showing them the same website? You want to personalize each visitor's experience with you. Now, another tactic here that we use is personal retargeting. And this example here is really interesting. If you are already using Marketo, you have access to really rich data, right? So you can connect your ad campaigns, your remarketing efforts to the data, and then run really personalized and meaningful campaigns. So you can say that you want to target a manager in a healthcare vertical that has a lead score higher than 60. And that ad is a lot more meaningful than just anyone within the healthcare industry. And we see a really great conversion with those type of tactics. And this is also really good example how you can do target account marketing at scale. The next one is mid-stage campaigns. And there we have, for example, direct mail. And some of you might be shocked and say, oh, really? What? Marketo talks about direct mail? Such a super old tactic. I've used this 15 years ago, or in some cases, some of us never even used this because we consider it an old tactic. But if you're combining this with a digital component, then this can be really meaningful. So there are a few things to consider. One is that you have to have really good data, right? Contact information must be right. Otherwise, you're wasting a lot of time and money. Then you want to make sure that the offer is really personal and very relevant to the buyer. You might want to run small tests and see what the results are and then expand or adjust the campaign. And then the last point I'd like to make is that connecting this with a digital strategy is essential. So if you're using Marketo, or in this example, we have set this up as a Marketo program, we can then sync it to the CRM system and have SDRs and sales teams follow up in real time. Another really good way for us to engage mid-stage is events, but they need to be really focused and specialized. So don't just say, oh, let's do an event, right? But they need to be specialized for your target account, even just one account or multiple target accounts, right? So doing this needs to be really metric driven. You want to determine in advance what's going to be my pipeline created, how much am I going to spend, what are the key metrics that I want to drive from this event, and maybe you want to invite someone from a third party that helps you position the topic really well. Now, going to late stage campaigns, here's an example of many tactics really that we utilize at the late stage of the marketing funnel. And one of them is driving on-site meetings. And this is a really simple plain text campaign, right? It's connecting the different tactics that we've used before though. So in this case, Marketo will do some very strategic on-site marketing days for large accounts. Obviously, we can't do this for all accounts, but that is one good example for a late stage. And then in another example here is something that I do weekly, and it can be really impactful, even if it's super easy. But this is an example of a web activity report. So you want to show who are the unique visitors that came to your web page, how many pages did they visit. You send this out to the reps that you're working with, and then he might say, oh, you know what? I had a meeting with Amazon last week, and now all of a sudden I see all this activity that's happening. So I need to connect and get to the bottom of this and make sure that I address this appropriately. Now, measure and analyze is one of our favorite topics. How do I not just execute constantly marketing campaigns, but how do I then look at my target accounts and evaluate them effectively? And of course, you want to look at pipeline opportunities created, revenue won in your target accounts. But as I mentioned before, target account marketing takes really a lot of time. So you might not have those metrics right off the get-go. And I don't know how you feel about it, but I hate going into a meeting and showing zeros on a spreadsheet. So if you're just starting this, you can't necessarily show pipes and revenue won quite yet. But what you can do is look at these different metrics, early stage, mid-stage, and late stage. And that helps you build a really nice framework and helps you communicate with your sales team. And with that, Carl will show you how we actually do all of this in the Marketo solution. Carl?
Great. Thanks, Melanie. Yeah. So, I'm going to take about maybe another 10 to 15 minutes of everybody's time just to give you a sneak look into Marketo's new account-based marketing functionality. So this is going to be a new add-on product that we'll release as part of the platform with our next major release, which is scheduled for August, September time. So it's part of a multi-year roadmap. So we've identified account-based marketing as being something that the product needs, and we've worked with many people to understand how we should build it. And so over the next couple of years, it's going to be a strong part of our roadmap with new features being added on top, dedicated and focused on account-based marketing. So we built this right as a core component onto the Marketo platform, really with the goal of giving you all the tools that you need to run your account-based marketing campaigns. So just going back to the points that Melly made about the manage, engage, and measure. So we spoke with a lot of Marketo customers who are doing account-based marketing, and we also, of course, work with our own marketing team. And these are the three things that we think are essential in order to give you the capabilities to run a successful account-based marketing program. It'd be difficult to do it without them. So when we developed the new feature set, we did it all with these three things in mind. So I'm going to give you a tour of the new feature set, really going through with these three: manage, engage, and measure steps. So from the manage side, what we had to do was set up a whole new structure within Marketo to represent what an account is. So I know there's probably some customers and people who haven't seen much of Marketo before on the call. But traditionally in Marketo, everything that we did was based around the person, based around the lead. So I run a campaign that targets a set of people, leads. Now, in order to be able to target particular companies and particular accounts, we've created a whole new object structure similar to what you might be used to within a CRM, where we have an account, and then within that account we have contacts or people or leads who are related to that particular account. And with that, gives you the ability to create and run account segmentation, to do account discovery, so understanding who are our possible target accounts, account scoring, and also lead to account matching. So that question of when a new lead, a new person comes into the system through filling out a form or a list that you import, for example, how do we then match up that particular new person to an existing target account? So let's have a look at what it will look like within the platform. So first of all, in your home screen, if you have access to this tool, the set of functionalities, you'll have a new tile on your home screen focused on account-based marketing. One of the first things that you will have to do is then define who your target accounts are. And it's in the first steps, there's going to be two ways that we can do that. The first one, using information from the CRM to identify who the target accounts are. And I just saw there was a question in the chat there wondering, will this be linking and synchronizing with something like Salesforce.com or Microsoft Dynamics? And the answer there is yes. So you can use the information that you have within the CRM to say that this person is or isn't a target account, or is this type of target account. So we can set up a particular flag or identifier. But then we'll also be able to use the information that we have within Marketo to target specific accounts. So within the information coming in from sales from a CRM, we'll have the details of the account, how many people are associated with that account, and then also what we call potential people. So this is where Marketo identifies people who may be a match to that account. So we can use some characteristics like the domain name and their email address or their IP address to suggest to you, the user of the platform, that this person should or shouldn't be a member of that particular account. We can then, from within Marketo, we can set people, set particular companies and accounts as being a target account. As I mentioned a moment ago, then we also have the integration with the CRM. So for the likes of Salesforce.com and Dynamics, we can pick specific fields within those platforms to note or to highlight that some account is a particular target account. Then if you're not a CRM user or a Salesforce.com user, or perhaps there's information in Marketo that's not yet in your CRM, we can define target accounts within Marketo. So this is kind of a wizard that will help you through the steps of identifying who are all the companies or the accounts within your database, how many contacts or people are within them, how many potential people, and then I can, as a user, can set who my target accounts are from within here. So you'll be able to also group bunches of accounts together. So if you think of bigger enterprise companies, they may have different branches, or there may be a UK team and an EMEA team, or even it could be a data quality issue where when people are giving you information, they're somebody might say IBM Inc., somebody else might say IBM Systems. But we can use the Marketo platform to group all that information together when setting your target accounts, and we'll also be able to create account hierarchies. So for example, you could have the global GE enterprise company, and then within that the different verticals or the different parts that make up GE. So one of the things then that we'll have is a named accounts grid. So this will give you an overview of who are all your target accounts, and then giving you information such as, okay, how much pipeline are they worth to me? How many opportunities are currently in the pipeline for that particular account? How many people are there? And a roll-up of the account score, which we'll look at in a moment. You can then create views or lists using filters to group all the particular accounts together. So if I wanted to see, okay, who are my target accounts that have pipeline of between X and Y? Who are my target accounts who have greater than 500 people? So we can use all the field and the field values that we're collecting along the way to create account lists. So if we look at this example on the left-hand side, we've created several lists that we're going to use as target account lists. So for example, if we look at the finance industry, we're going to group all our potential named target accounts in the finance industry together. So then when we do come to run our campaigns, or we do want to run our reports, we can look at that list as a whole. Then within an individual list, we'll have the breakdown of the individual accounts. So like this, for example, where I'm looking at the high-tech named account list, I can see who are all my individual high-tech target accounts and what they're worth to me. So one important functionality required for account-based marketing is an account scoring system. So that's something that will be introduced from the get-go. In the beginning, you can create up to 5 different account scores, or using 5 different field scoring types within Marketo. So some people might have an overall score, some people might have a demographic score and a behavioral score, for example. In the first release of this feature set, it's going to be based on a lead summary score. So we'll take all the scores of the individual leads or contacts who are part of that account and roll it up to give you an overall score, like a cumulative score. But in future versions, in the future releases, we are looking at building a more complex scoring, so to allow you to create your own kind of algorithm around how the scoring should work. Because if you think it from the example, just because somebody has 500 employees, it might be easier for them to get a higher score than somebody that has 200 employees. So we want to be able to weight the scoring so that it's not just a sum. So that's something that we'll be releasing in one of the future versions of the account-based marketing feature set. Then an important aspect in the management side of account-based marketing is the lead to account matching. So when a new name comes into the system, how do we associate whether or not that should be associated to a particular target account? So there's a couple of automatic ways that Marketo is going to do this. So it's going to first look at somebody's email address, for example. Does the domain name contain a particular account name? If it's an IP address based on a web visit, do we already have that IP address registered in the platform, and can we associate it to a particular account? So we'll use some of the information that we can to suggest that somebody should or shouldn't be a particular target account. And if they're a definite match, we'll associate them to that account straight away. If they're if they're kind of a potential match, then we'll have a separate column for potential matches, which I'll show you in a moment. So then there's also be a manual step. So within your flow actions of Marketo, when you're running a campaign or when you're looking at a list, you'll be able to say manually, okay, this particular person, I want to add them to a particular named account. This is what I mentioned around the potential people. So in this example, we have an account called Acme Corp. And Marketo has identified 4 potential people who could be part of that account. So 4 new names that came into the database. In this case, it's the user's decision to say, yes, this particular person should be associated with this particular account or not. So then continuing on with the manage and engage step. So this is all about, we've set up our management. We have a framework in which to identify our target accounts and structure our target accounts. The next step is how do we engage with them? So how do we leverage the power of the Marketo platform to run our campaigns and to target these particular accounts as a group or as lists? So you will see within Marketo, so those of you who are familiar with it, when you create segmentations or what we call smart lists for your when you target your who you want to run a campaign against, there will be a new set of account-based marketing filters and triggers. So I can, as a whole, target a particular account list or a particular named account, and I can combine those with all the other filters that Marketo has available today. So for example, find me all the accounts who are in a particular high-tech account list who have an opportunity that is in a review stage, and within that subset of people, I want to target just the VPs. So you can be able to combine the different filters and triggers together. And then of course all the values or all the fields that we have on our recording on the account will then be available as constraints. So if I wanted to target a particular named account that has a particular employee size or has an account score of greater or less than X. Some of you may be familiar with our account-based marketing feature within our web personalization tool. So our web personalization tool, which allows you to display personalized content in real time on your website. Today, there's an account-based marketing feature within that allowed you to import a list of particular accounts that you wanted to target. With the new functionality, the target accounts that you create within Marketo will be automatically synchronized with this particular part of the tool set, so you won't have to import those lists anymore. There's many other channels that we can use to run our campaigns. So if you think about it from maybe a remarketing perspective, when we run our ad campaigns through Marketo, if I wanted to target a particular named account and remarket to them on Facebook, I can create my segmentation or my smart list within Marketo and push that information into Salesforce, or into a Facebook custom audience for my remarketing. And again, in the same way that you might run an email campaign or an event, running a focused event, using the Marketo Smart Campaign functionality and program functionality to target a specific event that you want to run with a target account list, for example. And then finally, the measure stage, right? So this is where we want marketing and sales to speak the same language, the account-based language. So we have to create a set of new, really account-centric based dashboards for both sales and marketing, so that they can view them together and collaborate on them. So first of all, we'll have a summary dashboard. So this is giving a high-level overview of how many particular named accounts do we have, how many open opportunities and pipeline is that worth, and then breaking it down by, for example, the top 10 named accounts. So we've got a dashboard that runs through how much each one is worth to us. We'll then be able to also look at individual lists. So again, in my high-tech account list, what is the overall worth, what is the overall pipeline of all my high-tech named accounts, what is how many of them are there, how many of them have open opportunities, for example. And then on an actual account level, so each account will have its own details page. So the sales team or the marketing team can use this dashboard to look at how much is this account worth to us, and then in the middle we can see the individual people, so the leads or the contacts that are associated to this account, and the stars and the flames, kind of people who use our sales insight tool might be familiar with it, but it represents really how qualified, how good a fit that particular person is. So in this case, Rodney, the CEO, he's got 3 stars and 3 flames, meaning that he's a highly qualified lead based on any of the scoring that we've been doing, so based on his engagement with us. We'll have an opportunities overview, so from within this individual Acme account, I can see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 opportunities open. I can see in what stages they are, and I can see how much they're worth to us. So this could be useful, even this avoids the need maybe for marketing to actually have to log into the CRM and say, okay, do we have any opportunities open with Acme? Or how much are they worth? And this can help you with planning. So if you're running an account-based campaign, maybe you want to treat it differently depending on at what level or what stage you have opportunities with that particular account. So some of the standard reporting, of course, will then have new account level functionality. So if we wanted to run a web page activity report based on a specific named account, or if we wanted to run an email performance report based on specific accounts or account lists, we can get the results broken down by those individual accounts. Also in our revenue cycle analytics platforms or our advanced reporting suite, you'll have new metrics and new attributes that you can include so that you can group your reports by target accounts. So as I mentioned, that's the first part, that's the first release. Those are the features that will be part of phase 1 that we're hoping to release end of August, start of September time in our summer release. But it's going to be part of our ongoing roadmap. So every quarter there should be new account-based marketing functionalities added on top of that. So some of the things that are already on our roadmap are what I spoke about in terms of the advanced multi-dimensional account scoring, so giving you the ability to create a formula for scoring, for example, so not just a cumulative approach. There will be some new dashboards around trend analysis, so how has a particular account progressed with us over time. There will be a Chrome plugin, so for salespeople, I can show you that in a moment. There'll also be a whole set of APIs around the account object, and then also that with those APIs will allow us to create partner integrations for account enrichment. So for example, if you need more data about a particular account and you want to go to a third party to get that data, we'll create integrations with specific partners so that you can pull in additional information. So a quick look at the Chrome plugin. So if you take, for example, this is the idea where as a salesperson I go onto a particular website, in this case the acme.com, and they'll have a little plugin button where they can call on to get the highlights of, okay, how are we interacting with this account at the moment? Are they a qualified customer lead contact? How engaged with us are they? And then from the account dashboard point of view, this is the graph that we see in the middle there gives you a good idea of what we're hoping to do, more of a trend analysis or an engagement over time where we can see over a particular date range, this is how this particular account has increased in value or increased in engagement with us.